Okay, this is Group 1 strategy for down and 10-man putricide. The initial pull has a certain position we like to do. The raid's going to be on the right side of the main tank in the circle in the center of the room. Main tank's going to run up, grab the boss. The off tank's going to run up, right-click the table, and get the debuff that's going to turn him into an abomination. The reason we pull this way is because the first two slime puddles the professor is going to throw out is going to be targeted on the right side now, which is right next to where that first green ooze is going to spawn. So the abomination is going to eat those up and be right in position to slow down that very first ooze. You see right there, there he goes, and the raid will start moving. After the professor throws out his first two slime puddles, the raid's going to start moving towards the left side. You do this because this green ooze that's about to spawn on the right side is going to freeze a random raid member in place and start running towards him at a very high rate of speed. The abomination tank will need to slow him down with one of his abilities, otherwise I guarantee you it'll get there before your DPS has a chance to kill him. As you can see in the back right now, he's pouring out that ooze, and there's the green ooze spawn. Abomination will slow him down right now with his spit attack. Afterwards, you see it's on Iskarl. I'm not going to be able to move, but I can use all of my abilities. As soon as the green ooze picks its target, all DPS will switch and begin burning it down as fast as they can. Also, the DPS will follow the volatile ooze in until they are all stacked upon its current target. This will split the damage done by its explosion amongst everyone within a short distance of it, and will prevent the target of the volatile ooze from dying if the DPS do not kill it in time. Once the green ooze is dealt with, the tank will move the boss to the opposite end of the room to get ready for the red ooze. As you can see here, we hit 80% right when it spawned. Not the best time to do it. You want to try and burn him down right before he spawns it because it'll reset his unstable experiment timer, giving you an extra 20 seconds or so of DPS. As you can see, our rogue Cloak of Shadowed out, got over there and started DPSing the gas cloud down to get a little bit of a head start on it. Once the red ooze hits its target, that target will have to kite the red ooze. It will slowly take damage from ticks on him. The raid will burn down the red ooze while the opposite raid member kites. This is the easier ooze to kill. However, be careful where you're kiting so you do not get out of position of your healers and your DPS don't have to run very far to burn it down. Now, if the red ooze catches its current target, it will do raid-wide AoE damage based on how long you were kiting it for. After your 10 stacks wear off, the red ooze will switch targets to another player. Your DPS needs to be fast enough to burn it down before it does that, because if it switches to a melee, it's probably going to wipe you. After the raid is dealt with the red ooze, it will move back towards the left side of the room and get ready for the next green ooze. The oozes will continue to alternate the rest of the phase 1 and 2 until you get him to 35%. You just handle them the same way every time. Professor Putricide will hit phase 2 at 80%. When he does this, the raid will be stunned as he runs up to morph into his new form. Afterwards, he will have two new special abilities. The first is Malleable Goo. If you look now, you'll see a green thing flying through the air, spraying green stuff everywhere. It will then explode and do AoE damage to anyone in the area. If you get targeted by one of those, or if someone near you gets targeted by one of those, you need to get away from the area it was sent. The second ability Professor Putricide gains during Phase 2 will be to throw two flasks out. These are orange flasks surrounded by gas. If a raid member runs over them, it will act like a mine and detonate. It will lower everyone within a short distance of the flask's hit rating by 75%, drastically lowering your DPS, prolonging Phase 1 and 2, and possibly wiping you in Phase 3. If you look at the top of my screen, you'll see the orange flasks, and they'll despawn after a while, as you see there. Next, we'll cover the Abomination's job during this fight. The Abomination will be your off tank. His job is to go around and eat up the slime puddles. This will give him energy that he can use to either DPS or to slow down the ads. His number one priority is to slow down the ads. If at any point in time he does not slow down either a volatile ooze or a red ooze, he's going to wipe the raid. After your Abomination has slowed down the ad, he will move to the nearest slime puddle and begin spamming his one button to eat up all the slime. A good Abomination will keep the entire room free from slime the entire fight during Phase 1 and 2. This will lessen the amount of ooze on the ground when Professor Putricide hits his Phase 3. The rest of Phase 3 continues in this pattern, alternating ads and keeping the Abomination busy, slowing them down, and eating up slime puddles, until Professor Putricide reaches 35%. At 35%, Putricide will stun the entire raid again and run to the table one more time to eat more potions. During this time, anyone that can get out of the stun can immediately start burning down an ad if you have one up. The goal here is to get him to 35% right after you kill an ad so that you do not have to DPS one down in phase 3, as it is a DPS race. As soon as the stun wears off, your tank will begin moving towards the opposite end of the room as Putricide, attempting to delay the very first stack of the debuff he puts on them for as long as possible while the raid DPSs. The raid will then finish off whatever ad happens to be up and then move their DPS towards the boss. A good idea here is to have the raid stack up on the slime side of the boss so that all new slimes are thrown over already existing slime, prolonging the time until the entire room floods. The main tank will then kite the boss intelligently so as to not back himself into a corner surrounded by slime puddles. Once the main tank reaches 4 stacks of his debuff, the off tank will taunt. As you can see in this video, the healers were not ready for the off tank to taunt, and therefore you watch him drop. Off tanks, remember, when you go to taunt the boss, you need to make sure you have some defensive cooldowns popped at that point in time, just in case something like that happens to prevent the wipe. The reason why this will wipe the raid is because the main tank will then receive his 5th stack of the debuff, which will begin doing massive amounts of AoE damage to the rest of the raid. After so long, the damage cannot be healed through. In this next video, you'll see that the tanks managed to taunt successfully and the healers were ready for them and kept the off tank up in time to get him back to full. After this, it's merely a DPS race before the off tank receives his 5th stack of the debuff and wipes the raid, while the rest of the DPS burn him down. Both abilities from phase 2 will still be up in phase 3, including Malleable Goo and his flasks. You must be very careful to avoid both. If your raid has enough DPS to down Festergut, you should be able to burn down Putricide in the amount of time so long as people are being careful and not dying.